I talk to a lot of agents every single day, and one thing about people at traditional brokerages that they all say is, I don't even go to the office, or I don't get anything done in the office. And I believe that the brick and mortar office and real estate model is absolutely dying. Stay tuned and we'll talk about why. What's up, guys? Coach Kane here with the Realtor Playbook. Super excited to dive into this topic as you know, eXp has been in the virtual world and dealt with virtual office since 2009. So it's not something new. It's not the metaverse. It's not Facebook running the show. This is something that's been around at eXp, and there's so many benefits to it. But this really isn't about eXp. It's more about why the brick and mortar model is dying. So as always, please like, comment, subscribe. If you would like to book a call and talk about partnering in the virtual office and save so much time and energy, please check out this link right here. I'd be happy to talk to you about what it looks like to partner and how the brick and mortar office has actually eliminating that piece from my life has actually saved me tons and tons of time and scaled my production. The first thing is, as we continue to evolve and rents go up and all of this stuff, that physical space is so unused and so expensive. Usually the most expensive line item on a P&L is that rent space, especially because some of these real estate offices have these marquee locations with beautiful, full ceiling to floor windows with great views and all of this stuff. And that's great. But when you ask any agent, where do you make your money? It's out on the street. It's out selling homes, in homes, talking to people, meeting people. Sure, a lot of the admin stuff gets done, but let's be real, a lot of the admin stuff is handed off anyways. So when we think about the actual brick and mortar office and the need for it, it's really just a huge money drain on most of these brokers. Whether you're big or small, that rent space is huge. Most brokerages don't even own the office space. And as real estate agents and real estate brokers, we preach home ownership against renting. And most big box brokerages are renting hundreds of thousands of dollars of space per month. And that's absolutely killing their bottom line. And that means that what eventually happens is a real estate agent has to pay more in splits or more in desk fees to cover those costs as those costs continue to go up. And the next thing is, time is absolutely your most valuable commodity as an agent. I am able to log on to our virtual office literally in 90 seconds, get an answer with a managing broker, and log back off. I'm back to what I'm doing in under 3 minutes. If I had to go to an office and get my managing broker's attention because they're so busy they can't answer all the texts and phone calls they get all day, if I have to drive to the office, physically sit there, wait for that broker to be available, and then have that conversation with them, then get back in my car, come back, that's at least an hour of time if that brokerage is super close to you, not to mention all the distracting, water cooler talk and everybody asking you what you're doing to crush it or what that means. So that's a huge thing. And if we really value our time, does going to an office really make sense? The next thing about the brick and mortar office is the support pyramid. And you have the managing broker, and then maybe you have, some team leads or whatever you want to call them. And then maybe you have the compliance department that reviews files and does all that. Maybe transaction coordinators fall into that. And then you have down here, maybe the office offers a ton of, lead generation or whatever, ISAs. And so you have all of these paid employees on salary. And so what happens to that when transactions go down, as we've talked about, when transactions go down, income goes down. And so they can pay those people less, so they have to lay people off. So that support staff is a constantly moving accordion. And if anybody along that support staff outside of the team leads and above decides that they can crush the game, they can get their real estate license and they're out of that role, which they were very good at. And then it's rehiring and retraining. And so it costs a lot of money. As we know, that's the biggest cost, is training when you have an employee. And so as we go through that aspect, if you have these people that are doing that, ultimately what has to happen is the managing broker has to wear a lot of hats, right? If we have to shrink dollars, we can't renege on our lease. So we have to, shrink those dollars that we spend down. And as we do that, then the managing broker has more and more things to do. Well, since you have to pay the lease and you have that, then that's the first thing that has to happen, and then you can pay these employees. And if the transactions get tight and the market gets tighter like it is, this employee force shrinks, leading either the broker to have to do it or you as the agent to have to take on some of that stuff. However, your value is not getting compensated on the back end. They're not changing your splits. They're not lowering your splits. They're not lowering your desk fees. So a constant thing. Whereas if you have the ability to not have the brick and mortar office, you can keep those employees retained. There's people that have been in my EXP Colorado office since the day I've been there. There's several of them that are constant names, not a lot of turnover. I've been there for 18 months. That sounds crazy, but as you know, a lot of people are changing jobs. So that support pyramid that's ever changing, because you have that hierarchy of that brick and mortar office payment, and that the money has to come from somewhere, and it's usually not going to come out of the managing broker's pocket. The next thing is just the training model, right? As I may have touched on earlier, the training model at the brick and mortar offices is very old school. Usually it's someone who's absolutely crushed it. Maybe they had a ton of success, 15, 20 years ago. Then they just want to kind of back off. It's because they don't have a retirement exit strategy. More on that if you want to chat. We can chat about an exit strategy, and EXP being the only real estate company that has a real exit strategy built in. But so after you become a top producer, then you're like, okay, well, I kind of want to leave production, and, maybe I'll get into training or managing broker or whatever that looks like. Okay. Maybe they don't want to wear all the liability hats of the managing broker, but they still like training. Okay. That's where I fall into play. I like training people, but I also like helping, people buy and sell houses. So I can be a trainer and do that. However, the traditional brick and mortar office comes into play, and they're like, okay, this guy crushed it. He's going to be our trainer. He's going to step into this role, and he's going to either, recruit people to train, and, we'll pay him a salary, or we'll pay him a split for mentoring agents, whatever that looks like. And so they bring somebody in who's super old school. Okay. The truth is that with the explosion of social media and modern technology, the old things do work, and they still hold a place, but typically most new agents don't want to build a business that way. We're talking about the 20-somethings that have been raised on the cell phone. They've always had a cell phone. They've always had a computer. They've figured out to use these tools and the technology to build their business. Now all of a sudden we have to go back to belly, conversations, door knocking, cold calling, whatever that is. And they don't know how to talk to people, right? And we're not training them how to talk to people. We're training them on how to, do 4x4 and how to, plow through a list and scripts and, become robots. And so that old school model and it's virtually impossible to keep up with the trends and so on. So bring in EXP's model, where we have 85,000 agents, in which we have, 2 to 3% of those are icon agents. Icon agents are teaching small bits and pieces in the cloud from across the world. So, I could be teaching a class on, in the cloud. People can come from Australia, people can come from Chile, people can come from Denver. All over the world, we can say, okay, this is the time Jeremy's going to talk about his, sphere development, right? And I'm just telling them how I built my business. 1 hour, they don't have to drive anywhere. They just hop on their computer. I have my little avatar up there, and I'm training. And then they can log out of that, and they can listen to my buddy Dimitri talk about Instagram and how he's got, 50,000 subscribers or followers, and he's crushing the game. And then they can close out of that and see how my buddy Louie, develops systems and processes to absolutely take his production level to the next level. So as you can see, there's a lot more camaraderie, a lot more agents that are actually producing right now that can teach a class in the world for an hour. It doesn't take the whole time. It doesn't take finding sponsors, and it doesn't take all of this. So I'm able to do that, provide that value to everyone at our brokerage, and move on. And so that training is much larger, and you don't have to fly, a guru in from across the country. The truth is, there's so many gurus out there, and they all cost a lot of money to bring out. But we have high top producing top 3% of the company agents who are absolutely crushing it, that are willing to share because of the ease of time and the ease of the system. And then the next thing is a traditional brick and mortar. There's not enough money for the exit strategy. So agents don't retire, they expire. This is real. Just like I alluded to when we were talking about the trainer becoming, getting out of production and now training new agents. That's huge. And that's because there was no exit strategy, right? And let's be real estate agents, you absolutely can make a lot of money. And if you're really tight with it, you can develop a pretty good portfolio. And I get that, but it's not long-term success. And as we climb the ladder of real estate and we're making more and more money, our retirement accounts just aren't keeping up. However, there's a lot of things that we do as agents that we are not compensated for at the traditional brick and mortar office, right? Example one. Hey, Jeremy, how you doing today? I just decided to get my real estate license. Where should I hang my license? If I'm at RE/MAX, I'm going to say RE/MAX. If I'm at Brokers Guild, I'm going to say Brokers Guild. If I'm at EXP, I'm going to say EXP. The difference is the compensation level at RE/MAX and Brokers Guild is nothing like it is at EXP for bringing an agent in, right? I can bring an agent in. I can help them however I want to, sponsor them, give them any, insights or, mentorship that they need, and they can be in my downline. And then if they recruit an agent, they're in my downline. And so that initially creates a little bit of residual income, which is a huge component, right? I'm no longer trading time for money for those agents, because then the agent under me becomes a leader and they have 10 agents and I'm still getting that residual component, maybe doing, an hour Zoom meeting a week, or, maybe doing a lunch and learn a week, or whatever that may be. And I'm helping and pouring into those agents so that they can be successful, because I know that at the end of this, once they're successful and they're learned and they're training and they become leaders, that as they build out, I can continue to, maybe not produce anymore because I have all of this, and all of that comes from the company dollar. So at EXP, we have an 80-20 split. The revenue share is paid out right off the top. GCI out of the EXP 20%. None of the agent's dollars touched. At a traditional brokerage, you would say, okay, yeah, you can do that, but you're going to have to pay me a split on top of the company split. And that's the team structure that you see at the KWs of the world and all of that. So as we progress through this, in 8 to 10 years, I could have a legitimate salary, coming in month over month, because I've put this team in place that's growing, as well as, continuing to produce. Then I can go retire, I can go spend time with my kids, because I know that residual income's coming, and I don't have to pound the pavement. I don't have to build my sphere anymore, because I have that under control and I can do the deals I want to do while earning residual income. Next is company ownership. EXP is publicly traded. Most of these companies are not. There's no ownership. The day that you walk in, you start building that company's brand. The day you walk out, that your income goes to zero. You've already built the brand. That's good. They've generated that business, that know, like, and trust with the community, and they're moving on, and you don't have anything to show for it. So that's the biggest thing, is the exit strategy is completely different, has completely changed my life. But the traditional brick and mortar is definitely going to have to change, and the models must change. And some companies are adapting a little bit, trying to get to where the EXP model is, but they're just not there yet, and they don't know how to solve the problem. So if you're interested in anything I said, whether it's the exit strategy, the training, or any of that, please book a call right here. Would love to talk to you about what we're doing differently at the Wolfpack, and especially EXP. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.